Dear Grandma, I don't know why I'm writing this to you. You can't read it. You couldn't read it even if I drove to the cemetery right now and pressed it against the ground above where they buried you. But I've been sitting in this kitchen, your kitchen, I suppose it's mine now, though that word still doesn't fit right in my mouth, and I needed to talk to someone who already knew the whole story. So, I'll start where it ended, which is how you always told me stories should begin when the ending is the only part that makes the rest make sense. The lawyer's name was Mr. Aldrich. Older man, careful with his hands, the kind of person who folds his reading glasses into his breast pocket rather than leaving them on the table. I noticed that because I was looking everywhere except at Uncle Dennis and Uncle Roy, who had arranged themselves on the opposite side of the conference room, like men who had already decided how the afternoon would go. Dad sat next to me. He kept his hand near my arm without quite touching it, which I think was his way of preparing me for something without having to say what it was. He already knew, didn't he? That my name wasn't in the will. I don't blame him for not warning me. I think he genuinely believed that knowing ahead of time would be a kindness, that it would let me arrange my face before we got there, and maybe he was right. Maybe I would have been worse, more obviously wounded, if the information had been given to me in the gentleness of private. Instead, I heard it the same moment Uncle Roy did, and I watched him try to suppress a smile, and I kept my expression very still. The estate was divided between your 3 sons. The house on Claremont, the savings, the furniture, the jewelry, everything accounted for, everything distributed, everything deliberate. Mr. Aldrich read it in the measured tone of someone who had delivered difficult news so many times it had become a form of technical precision. When he finished, there was a pause, not the pause of someone who has reached the end. The pause of someone who has reached the end of one document and is now reaching for another. He said there is a second item. He reached into the file folder and removed an envelope. Cream-colored, sealed, your handwriting across the front. My name. Just my name, in the looping cursive you used for things that mattered. I remember the room getting very quiet, not the silence of respect, the silence of recalculation. Grandma, I want to tell you something I've never said out loud. I never came to see you because I expected anything. I know that's what people say in situations like this, and I know it sounds exactly like the things someone would say if they were lying. But you know I mean it. You know because you were there. You saw me drive 3 hours on Sunday afternoons to sit in this kitchen while the uncles sent cards at Christmas and called it love. I came because you were funny. Because you remembered everything and pretended to forget nothing. Because you made coffee too strong and apologized for it every single time for 30 years, and somehow that never stopped being charming. I came because I liked you. It seems so simple. I just liked you. Mr. Aldrich explained what the envelope contained before he let me open it in full. He said you had worked with a separate attorney, someone outside the family's usual arrangements, to place the lake house into an independent trust. Named me as trustee and sole beneficiary. Executed the paperwork 8 months before you died. He said it had been structured carefully, that it was not part of the estate, that it could not be challenged as part of the estate. Uncle Dennis said that can't be right. Mr. Aldrich looked at him with the particular patience of someone who has anticipated exactly this response. It is right, he said. And then he stopped talking, because that was all that needed to be said. I didn't look at them. I want you to know that. I didn't look at their faces when the information settled. I looked at the envelope in my hands, at the way you had pressed down slightly harder on the M of my name, the way you always did, like you were making sure it would hold. I read your letter in the car. I couldn't do it in that room. You wrote it in pieces. There are 4 different dates across the pages, the earliest from 3 years ago, the most recent from last November. You wrote about the lake house the way you wrote about everything, practically, with small asides that were funnier than they had any right to be. You wrote about why. Not bitterly, not as accusation, just as information recorded carefully, because you wanted me to understand the shape of what you were giving me and why it was mine specifically. You wrote, I'm not leaving you this because the others don't deserve things. I'm leaving you this because you never asked for anything, and I want you to have something anyway. I sat in the parking lot for a long time after that. It's October now. I come here on weekends when I can manage it. The maple at the edge of the property has gone completely red, which you always said was the only reliable beauty in an unreliable world. I haven't changed anything inside. Your coffee mugs are still on the second shelf. The chair by the window still sits at the angle you kept it, turned slightly toward the water. I haven't decided what to do about any of it, and I think for now not deciding is its own kind of decision. Uncle Dennis sent an email. I haven't answered it, Dad called. We talked for a while about other things, and then at the end he said she knew what she was doing. I said I knew that. There wasn't much else to say. I think about what it means to be seen by someone really seen, not performed at, not managed, just witnessed accurately over a long period of time. I think about how rare that is, how most of us move through our lives slightly misread by even the people who love us. You didn't misread me, that's what you left me, more than the house, more than the legal document, more than the trust, more than the view of the lake in October that I'm looking at right now while I write this. You left me the proof that someone understood exactly who I was and decided it was worth protecting. I'm going to make the coffee too strong tonight. I'll apologize to no one. With love that doesn't have anywhere else to go. Daniel.